you're gonna look great. But if you wanna stay in shape, well, you better hit the Gymwits.
That's right, man. Tell 'em.
Welcome to the Gymwits podcast. I'm Ryan George.
I'm Justin Guild, a.k.a. Chef Sonic.
And we are the Gymwits. So how's your diet going?
It went well. I'm now done with it. I completed it. I lost some weight, and I felt great. And I think the most important thing, there was a few important things that came out of it. First off is now I'm no longer reliant on sugar and desserts. I just don't feel these cravings, and that was the biggest thing. I wanted to get out of my circle of having to eat lots of sugar and dessert, and now I don't. I don't really eat much sugar. I also learned how to really eat well, right? To eat healthy, to plan better, to cook better things, to give myself more options, and I plan to remain being extra healthy as I move on.
That's good. So I think one thing I'll clear up. So some listeners to the podcast will probably be thinking, wait a second, we just heard you started the diet last week. How is it already over? And that's the magic of podcasting, where we can record
Time
multiple
elapses.
episodes in one day, and time as much as a month elapses between posting. So when we actually post the episode with us discussing Justin's diet, will be a week before we post this episode.
Which is funny.
So So again, if that's
really
if
a
that's
month.
your
That was only
thought,
for a month.
then yeah, he was doing it for a month, and seems pretty good. All right,
I
so
feel good. I feel great.
Yeah.
I have energy. I just sort of feel
You-
refreshed.
even though this upcoming interview may debunk some of the stuff that your diet was
didn't
centered on.
a little bit. Yes, it does debunk some of the stuff, but it doesn't debunk other stuff, like especially about the sugar and the processed foods.
Fair enough.
So, and remember, I knew going into it that certain things might not harm me that much. I just wanted to eliminate them
Well, I
and see
think
how I
sometimes
functioned.
the value of a diet or like a cleanse, like I think we talked about it before, but cleansing isn't effective, or at least no real research has shown it to be very effective. But the value in that, and the value sometimes in a diet, is it's like hitting the reset button,
Yes.
mentally and physically. The issue becomes sticking with it, and that kind of like you overshoot. So if you swing too far one way, and then you end up swinging way too far the other way. So that's one of the negative parts. But one of the positive parts is sometimes it's like just hitting the reset button. So when you limit yourself so much, you're able to kind of reset the diet and then reintroduce. If you can do it properly, you can reintroduce some other things, but in a situation where you're
better
making
way.
better choices. So what do we have on tap for today?
We have an awesome episode with Dr. Louis Meline, and he's going to tell you about all this awesome stuff as it relates to, nutrition, working out, different, all sorts of good health stuff. So,
Yeah, it's wide ranging, so there's a lot. We had a lot to ask, and he gave us tons of information. So whether you're interested in supplementation, diet, exercise, and vitamins, minerals, just tons of athletic performance. There's tons of stuff
All
that
that
we
good stuff.
covered. So definitely enjoy. And without further ado, here is our interview.
Do you want that name now?
yeah, let's get down the name of the book and the website.
Okay. So the book is Lies Exposed, The Truth About Dieting, Supplements, Weight Loss, and Exercise.
Supplements, weight loss, and exercise. Okay.
Okay. Website is www.healthfiascorevealed.com.
Healthfiascorevealed.com.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so I think we will start the interview now.
Okay.
Oh, actually, one thing first. So, should we refer to you as a nutritionist now? Are you also a doctor as well?
I'm a medical doctor, yes.
Oh, a medical doctor and a nutritionist.
Yes. I don't have a formal degree in nutrition,
Okay.
but I've spent the last 40 years studying nutrition and
Okay.
health and exercise.
40 years studying. Okay.
So when we introduce you, should we introduce you as a doctor and I guess nutrition expert? Would that sound good?
Yes. Yeah, that'd be the best way. Yeah.
Okay. Hey everyone, we are here with Dr. Louis Meline, and he has spent 40 years studying health and nutrition and is an expert in the field. Hey Louis, thanks for coming on the Gymwits. How are you today?
Yes, I'm doing great. And thank you for having me on your show. It's very much a pleasure and an honor to be on your show. And thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you very much. All right, so before we get into the meat of the discussion, we always like to know about your background. So could you tell us a little bit about your background?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm a medical doctor. I've been in medicine about 25 years now, but I've been involved with health and nutrition for about 40 years. This happened back when I was in the Air Force, Vietnam era time, and I was very much out of shape, overweight, looking for some way to improve myself. So I started looking into nutrition, exercising, things like that, and that got me started. Since then, I've just been continuously studying nutrition, health, dieting, exercise, things like that. And about 20 years ago now, I came to realization of a lot of what was going on out there was really bogus, and got me started on a track of figuring out what was the truth, what was really going on, and kind of set me on that course. I've been exercising for 40 years. I don't exercise as much as I'd like to all the time, but
Don't we all?
things happen. Yeah, exactly. You get busy and you don't have time, and things change around a little bit, but exercise is very much part of my life, and nutrition.
Great.
And still continue to do those things.
Fantastic. So, like the Gymwits, you seem really big on dispelling myths and calling them out. What is the driving force behind that?
Well, like everybody else, when I was trying to figure out what, well, first off, I decided that weightlifting was the thing that I wanted to do. I decided that I enjoyed strength and things like that. And back then, when I started investigating that, and I found bodybuilding magazines and looked at those guys, that wow, can this be real? How could this possibly? These guys can really look like that, but they do. And I started exercising, and I thought, well, strength is it for me. I'm not worried about trying to look like that. But as you get better shape and things, you start looking, oh yeah, I want to look like that. Seeing the shape coming, and so you start looking into how do those guys do it? What are they doing? What are they eating? What are they? How are they getting there? So you look into their routines, you look into their diets, and supplements were very big back then. I mean, they're even bigger now. But
Sure.
So you look at the supplements they're using. Say, oh, well, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take these vitamins. I'm going to take these protein supplements. I'm going to do this and that. And then what are their routines? And I'm going to do this, and you work that into your routine. And so just like everybody else, I was looking for that magic pill. What's going to give me that edge? What's going to make me bigger, stronger, and healthier, and all this other stuff. That's kind of where I got started. But along the way is when I discovered that all the stuff that they were really pushing and promoting was not really getting you there. It's not really reality the way that it really is. That's the way the promoters of the supplements and things want you to think that it is.
Sure. So now, I guess we'll jump right in. What are some of the biggest nutrition myths and supplementation myths, if you want to include that as well, that you've discovered over the years?
Okay. People don't usually lie too much about nutrition. When they talk about your body needs this vitamin, that vitamin. Yeah, your body needs these vitamins and stuff, but it's all coupled with you need this vitamin or these vitamins coupled with the supplement or whatever in order to get the best out of your workouts or whatever you're trying to achieve. So they always couple real nutrition with some kind of supplement or something that's going to give you that edge. You need this supplement to make you healthier. This is an example. At the gym, they're always advertising multivitamin users have a better metabolism and better workouts and things like that. Well, it's not the multivitamins that's doing it for you. It's being healthy.
Yeah.
And it's not the way that they don't really give you the information you need to be healthy. They just make you think that, if I do what I'm doing now, take this multivitamin, that's going to make me a lot healthier, and I'm going to have better workouts. I'm going to be leaner. It's going to burn fat off of me and stuff just by doing that, and that's a fallacy.
So what are some of the which supplements specifically are the ones that are I guess, that are actually effective, and then which ones are kind of promoted that are basically ineffective?
Well, supplements are only effective if you are deficient in your diet and whatever that supplement is providing. So say, for example, you have an advertisement that says, let's say joints, for example. There's lots of supplements out there to help your joints. So you say, wow, my joints are really hurting. And so you take this supplement and your joints quit hurting. You say, oh, wow, yeah, I needed that. I'm glad I took that supplement. It made my joints feel better. But the reality is, if that supplement made you feel better, it's because you were not getting something in your diet that supplement is providing for you. And so it's not really the supplement that you should be worried about. It's what you're eating that you should be worried about. And if you're deficient, you should look to your diet to provide that deficiency, not try to go out and find a supplement. You know, another example is omega-3 fatty acids. When that came along, it's really promoted that it's going to increase your brain. And in particular, a developing fetus. As they're growing, they need omega-3s for their brain to develop. So it became a big thing in obstetrics to take omega-3 supplements because that's going to make your baby healthier. Well, the only reason they did that is because they discovered omega-3's role more and how it is involved in brain development, neural tissue development. And so if somebody jumps on that and says, oh, wow, yeah, we should be taking more omega-3 fatty acids because it's going to make our brains better. So then somebody jumps on that bandwagon with a supplement, says, oh, well, we got this supplement. See, this research shows that it does this and that for your neural development, or your brain health, or whatever they're advertising. So people jump on that and say, oh, wow, I really need that. And then they start taking that supplement. The reality is, virtually everybody, unless you're really eating a really poor diet, gets enough omega-3 fatty acids for your body to be perfectly healthy. You don't need the supplement. But that's where these supplements come in. Another is kind of staying on the exercise route. A lot of bodybuilders, and I'm going to stick with bodybuilders because that's what I'm most familiar with, think that, we got to have all this protein in order for a muscle to get big. If I go to the gym and I work out, if I don't have tons of protein flying around, my muscles aren't going to grow. Well, the reality is you need protein, but you get plenty of protein in a good, healthy diet. You don't need to supplement it. And supplementing it does nothing to make your muscles grow faster or bigger or stronger. It's the stimulation that you're going to give your muscles through working out that's going to promote them to want to get bigger. And you get plenty of protein and things in your diet to get ample growth, whatever growth you want to achieve. You can do that just through a healthy diet. The supplements add calories and give you some other energy source to burn. They're usually bodybuilders are on real low-carb diets anyway. And they may even be on the keto diet, which on my website, I have a blog I put on there that I actually addressed the keto diet, and it's pretty involved. I did it in 5 parts because it covers a lot of material. But in the end, you're really hurting yourself with the keto diet. Mm-hmm. And so, there's just things like this with the supplements that people are missing out. They're taking the supplements in lieu of just making sure that they're eating a good, healthy, proper diet, and then doing the right thing with the exercise.
So as a trainer, I often get questions relating to nutrition, and it's usually beyond my scope. I typically try to deflect those questions, or all but the most basic questions. But then on the flip side, and I'm sure you've seen this, many trainers give food advice and supplementation advice, which is way beyond their scope. So I guess the question I have for you, or any professional with an expertise in nutrition is, where should a trainer or a fitness professional that's not an expert draw the line when giving food advice? Should it be like a zero, nothing about food, or the very basic information? Like, where do you see the line being drawn?
Well, I think where people get their information from, I think the gyms are promoting supplements, things like that. The trainers are getting their information from supplement providers and things like that. Even if you, I'm going to back up just a little bit here. Sure. Years and years ago, took a seminar by Frank Zane. And Frank was telling us all about these supplements he's taking. He had a bottle of supplements, and it was a full day seminar. We went over to a restaurant and had dinner. He pulls out this bottle of pills that he was taking and things like that. Well, trainers, I think, typically, unless they take a nutrition course, are going to be kind of swayed by the supplement providers. If somebody comes in and says, "Oh, well, look at this supplement. It's going to," you give it to your the folks that you're training, and it's going to do this, that, and the other for them. And so you take that advice and give it to them because you don't really know where else to go with it. And they're asking you for advice, and you know that you've been given that information, so you pass it on. And that's fine. I mean, even take it in medicine. A drug rep comes around and says, "Look, we got this brand new drug that does this, that, or the other." Well, you know something about the drugs that they're talking about because you may prescribe something similar or not, but you kind of have an idea what the drugs are. So they promote the drug. You don't really know the details about everything involved with that drug, but you do know that it might help some of your patients. So you take the information that they provide you. Somebody comes in with a problem, you say, "Oh, I've got a solution for you. There's this medicine that is now out that the drug reps are promoting. I'll prescribe that to you." So it's in that light, it's the same thing. Now, to answer your question, I'd say you want to find out as much about nutrition as you can. And unless the gym is pushing you to push these supplements or something, I would tell them the truth about eating healthy and things like that.
I think the flip side of that sometimes with the eating healthy for some trainers, that could mean a lot of different things. Some will stress certain types of diets which may or may not be healthy. I think that's what Ryan's talking about. What is eating healthy, for most people, and that idea.
Yeah. Now, in my book, Lies Exposed, I go through and I explain all that to you, but it's simply this. If you want to eat healthy, excuse me, if you want to eat healthy, there's basically 5 food groups. There's a cereal grains group, there's fruits, vegetables, your meat and protein group, and dairy. And the reason that they divided these groups up, this was done years and years ago, okay? And the reason they divided those groups up that way is because all of the foods in each one of those groups have nutritional commonality. So you don't have to eat everything that's in those groups daily or weekly or whatever to get the nutrition from it. You just have to eat something from that group on a daily basis to get the nutrition from that group. And so people have kind of hashed that up. Some of these pyramids, if you look at the food pyramid on the internet, you'll pull up hundreds of them, thousands of them. People have all these weird ways that they sliced and diced it and tried to enhance it, make it better. But the reality is those 5 basic food groups is what you need to focus on. And then the thing that kind of prompted a lot of this supplementation, I mean, if you look at supplements, people have been using supplements for thousands of years. You go back to the Chinese, they had all these herbal things and the ways that they tried to treat illnesses with herbs and different things. Well, this has continued on until in modern times, they realized that processing our food was really destroying a lot of the vitamins and a lot of the minerals and things were being extracted out of food during the processing. So this kind of brought on an era of supplementing multivitamins. That's where the vitamin supplementation come in, and that was okay with that idea. If you have to eat processed food, then you could be forced in some way to try to take a multivitamin. But when you get in that realm, which vitamins are you short? Which multivitamin do you take? Which multivitamins can provide the stuff that you need? Is it this one, or do I need to take this multivitamin to supplement with some extra B vitamins or something? It gets very confusing. So the problem lies in processing. So out of these 5 food groups, you should look to eat foods that are least processed. So for example, out of the cereal grains group, rolled oats. How could you get any less processing than that? And just roll the oats out and cook them and eat them, And you're getting everything out. Anything that cooks out of there into the water, you're going to get that nutrient because you're absorbing the water. You're not cooking it at really high temperatures, so you're not going to destroy as many vitamins and minerals. But if you can eat it raw, like take fruits, for example. You get an apple or pear or peach or strawberries or raspberries. You get them fresh and just eat them. Nothing has been processed. Nothing's been destroyed out of that food. You get vegetables. How many vegetables are there? There's tons of vegetables out there that you can eat raw, totally unprocessed. And when you look at getting vitamins and minerals and things like this, you're mainly looking at your vegetables, fruit groups to get your nutrition. The cereal grains group has a lot of nutrition, and depending on your energy needs, you're going to eat more or less from the cereal grains group. It has a lot of nutrition components, but it also has a lot of calories and things you have to contend with. So if you have a weight issue, then you kind of have to balance the cereal grains out against the vegetables and fruits. And then you've got your dairy. The main nutrition of dairy is contained in the butterfat. So if you're eating butter as your spread of choice, you're therefore extracting the nutrition, most of the nutrition from the dairy group. But you can also eat some stuff, yogurt. But yogurt now has the issue that, and to make it palatable, you got to put a lot of sugar in it. And they usually put some fruit in there with lots of sugar in it. So you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot by eating a lot of simple carbohydrates by eating yogurt. But it's another choice in that group for getting some of the nutrition out of the dairy group. Of course, whole milk is a good option. And if anybody tells you that you can't or shouldn't drink milk as an adult, they're crazy. Milk has a lot of nutrition in it. I drink a lot of milk every day. I love it. It's great. The only problem is they pasteurize it, which you can't get around that nowadays. And then the meat group, there's lots of choices in meats, from fish, seafood. As your leaner kind of meats, you get chicken, poultry group, and then of course, the red meats and things. Protein is something we all need a certain amount. Protein is one of the most utilized things in our bodies. And it's not that actual proteins we're taking in. The body takes those proteins and breaks them down into amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins, and makes our own proteins. So it doesn't really matter so much where the proteins come from, as long as you're getting the amino acids that your body needs. And there's lots of sources there. But one thing that's kind of really overlooked a lot and really had a lot of bad press is eggs. If you had to pick one nutritional items, what is one food that you can eat that's going to provide you the most nutrition, that would be eggs. It has a nice balance of things in it. The cholesterol is a whole other issue. Yeah. I talk about it enough in my book, I think, to educate people what the reality is about cholesterol. The main thing with cholesterol is, is that it's received some bad press. The physicians don't know where to go with it. Cholesterol is, years ago, this backs up into the 50s and 60s too, when they were looking at these arterial plaques, they found that they contained a lot of cholesterol. Well, it was the LDL cholesterol, the low density or the bad cholesterol, that was accumulating in the arterial walls. Well, they didn't know why, they didn't know how to prevent it, and there's no way to get rid of it once it's there. So their approach was, well, if we don't eat cholesterol and keep our cholesterol low, then those plaques won't build up as fast. The problem is the cholesterol, our body makes cholesterol. You have to have cholesterol. And if you don't eat it, your body makes it. So by avoiding it in your diet, you're not really avoiding cholesterol. You're just forcing your body to make it rather than eat it. So cholesterol now, they've shown that the types and amounts of fats that we eat in our diet has as much to do with the cholesterol levels as anything. And even now, they're finding that sugar has a huge effect on your cholesterol levels. So back to where we started with eating healthy, if you look at these 5 food groups, you eat from these 5 food groups in proper balance, with as unprocessed as you can get the food in each group, that's the best you're going to do nutritionally. And even as bad as some of the foods are, if you eat the way I'm describing there, you're going to get all the nutrition you need. If you eat multivitamins or something like that, or if you're taking in excess protein and things, you're just wasting your money. You're peeing out the vitamins, you're taking extra calories that you're going to have to deal with. So the supplements and the vitamins and they just aren't necessary if you eat appropriately.
Wow. So there's been a new craze recently with a lot of diets that claim to want to eat clean, like paleo diet and other diets. And some of it revolves around what they call inflammation. And they claim that stuff like gluten, and this is for people that do not have an intolerance, but just for regular people, stuff like gluten, legumes, dairy, bread, cause even rice and grains cause inflammation. Does that exist, or is that just a myth propagated by people trying to sell a diet?
Inflammation is real because that's our body's response to foreign entities.
Sure.
But in this case, it's somebody it's getting back to, what I was talking about, somebody that has they discovered omega-3s are involved in brain development. And so now there's a supplement. They tell everybody how you have to take that. Well, inflammation is something that happens in our bodies all the time as our body is dealing with foreign entities. But when you're talking about foods, unless you have an allergy to gluten, and again, if you have an allergy to gluten, your body treats that like a foreign body. Yeah, it causes inflammation, and your body has processes to deal with that inflammation to get itself back to normal. But the inflammation they talk about is not happening the way that they would like you to think that it's happening. And I try to address a lot of these issues in my blog. It takes a little bit of research to show what they're advertising and then tie it into reality. What's the real physiology? And so how are they twisting that reality to make it sound like, oh, wow, I can't eat this or that or the other, or I have to do this and that to avoid this inflammation. That's just not reality. So to answer your question, no, they're twisting reality in some way to make it sound like you have to eat the way they're prescribing or take the supplements that they're promoting or whatever.
All right, so we actually did an episode called Food Hysteria, and it's about this food culture. It's almost become an ideology, a religion, with people sort of pushing their food agendas. And two things that are at the head of these agendas are both eating organic and the concept of genetically modified food. So what do you think about organic foods as opposed to non-organic growth methods? And what about the genetically modified foods? What do you think about those concepts?
Okay. Well, first off, they kind of take this organic term, take it to the extreme. You can't really process anything unless it is organic.
Okay.
But where they're coming from is they're saying, well, these pesticides that they're using, or these herbicides and the fertilizers and things that they're using to grow our food are bad for us. Well, yeah, if you took them indirectly, yeah, they would be bad for you. But, and maybe if you backed up 25, 30 years ago when some of these chemicals were being developed, the pesticides and stuff, they didn't know as much about them. And some of those chemicals probably did get into our food source and our bodies had to deal with them. But with modern chemicals, they're really quite sure how they are, and they're very careful when they finally use these products commercially, that they do the job that they're supposed to be doing, that they're broken down, that they're safe for the environment, that they're harmless, when they, whatever residue or breakdown products that get into our food, they're very careful that these don't cause any effect on the consumer. Now, the organic growers would say, well, yeah, but I'm using natural fertilizers. I use no pesticides. I use no herbicides. It's all naturally grown. It's the best for you. And their other claim, too, is it's nutritionally better for you because it's got the natural fertilizers and things. Well, the reality is if you take the two foods, you take commercially grown foods and you take the organic foods and you compare them side by side, nutritionally and everything else, taste-wise, whatever, they're virtually identical. there's very little difference in them, but there's a huge difference in the cost.
Yes, there is.
So if you take that into account, you're not really benefiting yourself that much by trying to eat organic food. And if you look at it realistically, if you try to grow any significant amount of organic food, how are you going to do that without using some sort of pesticide or herbicide or something? That's why these things were developed, so that they could grow large amounts of foods without bugs destroying them or weeds and things destroying the crops. And so I think it's more of a cliche, really, saying, "Oh, this is all organic and it's much better for you," because in reality, it's the difference in benefit is minuscule. And it's definitely not worth the price, and you're not getting or avoiding that many more chemicals or things by doing that.
Okay.
The thing with the genetically altered stuff, they're looking at ways to alter plants. I mean, they've done some things. Is pretty neat the way they've done it. Alternate plants genetically, so bugs will leave them alone, but yet they still produce the same fruit or whatever they're growing, the cereal grain or whatever it is. It still grows the same fruit, and it's, if it's incapable of producing the nutritional values that we're trying to get out of it, it just doesn't grow well. It doesn't taste right. It doesn't work right in the food source as a food source. So those things kind of fall to the sidelines. Admittedly, you'd have to say that along the way, when they've been using steroids and antibiotics and things in meats products to help the production there, some of those things did creep into the products, and those things are carefully screened now. And I just don't think that there's enough difference. That the genetically altered things that are not going to be nutritionally sound are going to fall by the wayside. They're just not going to pan out. And the things that do pan out are just going to increase production, make more food available. And nutritionally, they're really not going to change too many things. You're still going to be able to get the nutrition from them.
They try to scare people into thinking that by eating genetically modified food, it's going to cause diseases and it's going to have growth issues if you're going to have a child, like stuff like that. There's really a lot of sort of, I believe, fear information out there. And I'm a fact seeker. If there was real evidence for me that genetically modified foods were bad, then I'd say we shouldn't have them. But it seems that all the evidence out there is more opinion-based than really based in science.
Yeah, you're right. The science, they're very careful nowadays. They've kind of got stung a couple times along the way, like with the antibiotics and the hormones, not monitoring them close enough, and actually people being harmed to some degree from those things. So anything that they're producing now, they're very careful to monitor its use, the products that they're producing, and make sure that there's no evidence of any possible harm to people. But the thing you have to remember, our bodies are designed to extract certain nutrients from our food sources. And as long as we're supplying that in any fashion, our body's going to be healthy. And when you look at the different groups, you look at the cereal grains group, there's a ton of cereal grains out there. Vegetables, there's, how many vegetables are there? There's just dozens of vegetables, fruits, things like that. When you look at the options out there, you got a huge supply that you can pick from to eat. And most of them are just going to be natural foods. They're not going to be genetically altered or weird things done to them. And if there is things done to them, they're not going to be as tasty. They're not going to have the same appearance. They're not going to be attractive to you to even try to eat. You know what I mean? So there's a huge variety out there. So the things that are coming on with these genetically altered stuff, it's going to take them a long time to get huge production of these sorts of things out there. Yeah. And by the time they do, they're going to have figured out if they're nutritionally sound, if they're producing the things that we need and stuff like that. So.
So So pivot a little bit, but kind of back to not quite, maybe a little bit nutrition and supplements. A lot of our listeners are athletes. And so that becomes a big issue, and I think we see a lot of athletes who are sold on some of the myths associated, with supplementation and dieting. So I guess maybe tell us some of the more common misconceptions or myths that you see when it comes to nutrition specifically for athletes, and maybe some tips on what athletes can do to really complement their performance but whether it's through nutrition or supplementation.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, I'm more familiar with the weightlifting side of things, as opposed to running or others. But it's all applicable the same way. So, like I say, weightlifters are really concerned, especially bodybuilders, about getting enough protein, getting in there, getting a good workout. And I see these guys running around the gym all the time, carrying these bottles of some kind of supplement in there, and they're drinking all the time. Because they'll go over and they'll do a set of something, and then they'll sit around, they'll drink some of that stuff, and they'll do another set. They're not doing much working out. I think they're more relying on these supplements and other things that they've been told to take to provide the stimulation for their bodies to grow. So really, if you have a good, healthy diet, you don't need to supplement anything. And as far as getting enough protein, I wrote a blog on protein, and I didn't detail specifically for athletes, but I wrote out just a simple diet in there, showed how much protein you get versus the recommended amount of daily protein. It's easy to get a huge amount of protein in a very healthy diet without any supplementation whatsoever. So what these people are really missing, and some of these other supplements, and they have other things in there to give you more energy. They put a lot of caffeine in there. They put a lot of sugar in there. They put a lot of other additives in there just to make you feel like you're getting something out of it. But what I really see lacking at the gym is effort. When I go to the gym, I don't have time to listen to the radio. I don't have time to talk to people because there's hardly any time to rest between sets. I usually do things in a superset fashion, and there's hardly any time. It's the intensity of your workout that's going to make you grow. And what people don't realize is, as you get in better and better shape, you have to work harder and harder in order to grow. Because your body's only going to grow to the point that it has to get to meet the demands that you're putting on it. And once it's reached that level, it's not going to grow any further unless you put further demands on it. And then it's going to respond to that and try to grow to meet that demand that you're putting on it. And so the intensity of the workouts is what really matters. And I just see that lacking at the gym. People are there working out, but they're hoping that these supplements and other things they're taking are going to take up that gap. They're going to make the difference, and that's what's going to make them grow. And that's one of the things that led me, probably 20, 25 years ago to deviate from just following the crowd, because I was taking all those supplements and everything, but I wasn't seeing any benefit from it. The only benefit I found was the intensity of my workouts. And there was times where I couldn't afford to buy all those supplements, so I just had to eat the best I could and then work out as hard as I could. And I found there was no difference. The difference was solely in how intensely I could work out. And there's ways to work out. You see people doing exercises at the gym, and they're trying to work a tricep or something, and the exercise they're doing is just minimally hitting the tricep. It's hitting a whole bunch of other muscles, but it's not doing what they want because they haven't learned how to do the correct exercises. And that's where trainers could really help people, is show them how to do the correct exercise. Put that effort into the muscle that you're trying to hit. And some people don't want to be bodybuilders. They just want to tone up. Well, there's exercises that'll work several muscles at one time, and that's perfect for people like that. They just want to tone up and be in shape and do other things, run or whatever they want to do. And those exercises are perfect for those folks. But I think that's where trainers really can benefit people, is show them how to work out and get them away from these supplements that they're wasting their time and money on. Take that money that you're spending on those supplements, buy good food, and eat from those 5 food groups. And your weight is going to help you determine if you're eating enough or eating too much. And your workouts are going to tell you if you're doing the right thing. If you're making gains, and people, I think, have an unrealistic expectation as far as what gains are. When you first go to the gym after a long layoff or after, years of not doing anything, your body has a certain amount of reserve in it. So as you go to the gym and you start lifting or whatever you're doing, and you get into your routine, you find that you gain strength and endurance rather quickly. And then you hit this wall where your body has utilized all the resources that it has readily available. And now your body has to produce more resources in order to produce more energy and allow you to work harder and to allow your muscles to grow and be stronger and to have more endurance and things. And to go along with that, there's a thing I call physiological health. There's nutritional health, which comes from your diet. Your body is a chemical factory. It cannot do what it needs to do without proper chemicals. I use the example, would you be able to make chocolate milk if you didn't have chocolate? Well, of course not. Nobody would even consider that as plausible. But somehow we think that eating poor diets, taking these random supplements and things are going to provide our body, excuse me, with the things that we need. The reality is, to provide your body with those nutritional components you need, eat a good, round, balanced, healthy diet from these 5 food groups, unprocessed foods, and then that gives you your nutritional health. Now, you can be nutritionally healthy without being physiologically healthy. Now, our bodies are designed to work. And when you go to the gym and you exercise your body and things like that, you're stimulating your body to be physically fit. You're stimulating it to do these chemical processes that it's designed to do. And as you do that, you build physiological health. And it's this physiological health that people are talking about. And people say, well, you go to the gym and you exercise, you burn so many calories, but then you're going to burn a bunch more calories the next few hours after the gym. Well, what your body is doing is you've stimulated it to do a certain amount of work. Now your body's trying to gear up, is trying to replace that energy that you burned off, is trying to increase the cellular components that allow you to produce that energy. It's trying to do these things afterwards in response to the stimulation you give it. And so that's what keeps your metabolism going after the workout. And the other thing is, your body doesn't want to have too many excess things carrying around. It's not going to do you any good to have these big, huge muscles that require all this energy and all these cellular components to provide that energy and stuff if you're not going to use it. So when you quit going to the gym, your muscles say, well, you're not using this, I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff. Yeah. And so then your muscles start to shrink up. You get weaker, you lose your endurance. And then you come back to the gym. Well, those components are gone. Your body got rid of them. Now you got to build them back up. And it's this, when you do that, that's physiological health. And as you increase the intensity of your workouts and so forth, you build this physiological health to a point where you reach a maximum, where your body is putting out as much physical effort, it's functioning as best it can, and it's able to manage the stress you're putting on it. And when you reach that peak, you're at your maximum physiological health. If you try to exceed that by either nutritionally, if nutrition has to be first, but if you try to reach this physiological peak without nutrition, you'll never get to that peak. Your body just can't do it because it does not have the nutritional resources it needs to get there. And so there's 2 aspects: the nutritional health, which has to come first, the physiological health coupled with that. That's where you're going to get your true health.
Well, so one thing that we're very big on is the importance of exercise, resistance training as you get older. Do you want to just stress the importance of that for people that are getting older and how important it is to maintain, to keep your body as a good working machine as we get older in life?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Our bodies, well, first off, they're designed genetically to age. We can't get around that. But they're also designed genetically to use the nutrition that we give it and to use the physical stimulation to allow our bodies to function physically. As we get older, people tend to get more sedentary. You work in your job and maybe you work hard physically when you're younger, and then as you get older, you get promoted, you get different positions where you can sit at a desk. No more, not as many physical demands. And as I was talking about earlier, when you stop the physical stimulation, your body gets rid of the excess components that it doesn't need. It only maintains enough components for you to do whatever you demand of it. So as people age, they quit demanding as much from their bodies, and so the body gets rid of that. It gets rid of muscle, it gets rid of everything it doesn't need. Our circulation gets poorer. You're talking about heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, obesity, and all these problems. These are all nutrition, health related, and exercise is another thing. It's the physiological side of it. But as people age, they really need to maintain the nutrition, and they need to maintain that physical stimulation. There's no reason why somebody 100 years old can't go out and do some very strenuous physical things. In fact, there was a guy, he lived in Florida, and his name was Banana Joe, I believe is what it was. The reason they called him Banana Joe is, I believe it was Joe, it was Banana something, but I think it's Joe. But anyway, they called him that because he was a barefoot water skier, and he had a barefoot suit that was yellow. This guy was 90 years old, and this was a few years back, and I haven't kept up with him. I'm not sure what he's still doing now. He was 90 years old, still barefoot water skiing. Well, how can he be 90 years old and do that? I don't even like to barefoot water ski now. I love to water ski, but not barefoot. It's pretty strenuous, and when you fall, and you're going to fall, it's pretty rough on you. Well, this guy's 90, and he's still doing it. Why? Well, because he kept it up.
Yeah.
He kept up whatever nutrition he was doing. He had kept himself nutritionally fit enough and physically fit enough that he can still do it. So as we age, we need to keep up that physical activity. If you don't, you're going to lose it. And the problem is, say you get somebody that has an issue, and so they have difficulty walking. And then the next thing you know, it gets a little harder for them to walk, so they start using a walker. Well, that now is telling your body, oh, I don't need all of the resources that I had because I don't have to use as many of them now. You're using this walker. And so you lose more resources. And so you lose more of your ability to walk. And then pretty soon it becomes hard to walk with that walker, and so you use a wheelchair. Now you're telling your body you don't need any resources. And so now you have more difficulty, and eventually you'll completely lose your ability to walk and do those things. Whereas these people should really keep up the physical stimulation. And you have to give your body more than what it needs. So just as an example, it's not good enough just to walk around the house and say, okay, because I'm walking around the house, my body's going to maintain that ability. You need to overdo it. You need to do some squats. You need to do some stairs, climb up and down the stairs. So tell your body you need a lot more resources than what you're using. So your body will build up and it will maintain those resources so they're available. And that's where people really fall down. They think that the activity of everyday living is going to maintain what they need to get out and function, and that's not true. You're only telling your body that's the maximum resources you need is just to get up and walk around the house. Well, that's fine for certain times, but what if you need a little bit more demand? You want to go for a walk around the park. Well, you can't because your body only has resources to walk around the room.
Yeah.
And so you need to tell your body, I need all these resources. So that's why I really like going to the gym, because I can go to the gym in a very short time, an hour and a half. I can tell my body I need lots of resources. And it makes your muscles grow. You got strength, you got endurance, my joints feel better. And then when I want to do something, I have the reserve. Like I say, I still like to water ski, ride dirt bikes, and I'm in my mid 60s, so not a lot of people still doing that thing at my age, but
that's great.
And you have to do it. If you want to age well, you've got to keep up the physical activity. And like I said, you've got to tell your body you need more resources than what you're utilizing, so that so it'll build and it'll have some resources available when you need them.
So you've referenced your book quite a few times, and I wanted you to give us a little more information on it. Tell us the name, where people can buy it, and I guess what the theme or what you're trying to get out from, or what you want your readers to get out of your book.
Okay. Yeah, the name of the book is Lies Exposed, The Truth About Dieting, Supplements, Weight Loss, and Exercise. And it's available right now. It's on Amazon. I'm having a little trouble with Amazon getting everything square, but it'll be on Barnes & Noble soon, and also be on Kindle. But right now it's just available on Amazon, or you can buy it directly through me.
Do you have a website as well?
I do have a website. That website is www.health, HEALTH, fiasco, FIASCO, revealed, REVEALED.com. And there's all kinds of information on that website. It gives you a little more background. And like I said, there's a blog on there that I address some issues. You can contact me through that website if you have questions.
Of course, we'll put those in the show notes.
Right. Thank you. And so I do have that. And then the book is really, when I went to write this book initially, I thought there's all these lies and fallacies and stuff going on there. I'm just going to dispel them. So I started collecting information on different diet programs and supplements and things, just to get enough information to write factually about it, and then show what the reality is. But I discovered with that approach, there's just thousands of supplements out there, and you can probably shoot down several of them at one time, but there were just so many of them out there. I thought, this is crazy, because every new supplement comes out, you got to address it this way and that way. So I decided what I need to do is educate people on what they need to know. What do you really need to know about physiology? What do you need to know about health? So part of the book educates you on what you need to know. And then you need to know something about food, nutrition. And so I talk about nutrition. What do you need to know about nutrition? What do you need to know about eating healthy? And what does it take to be healthy? What does it take to eat healthily? And so it addresses those issues. The book is aimed a lot about losing weight, because there's a huge obesity epidemic, and people don't want to get it. And medicine's even now coming out saying, people are fat because of genetics; they can't help it. No, that's just a band-aid. That's just an excuse. Yeah. People are fat because they eat too much, period.
Yeah. There's a big child obesity epidemic as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you think about it, where do kids learn to eat? Well, they learn to eat from their parents.
Sure.
Their parents are living on potato chips and soda pop and candy and cake and cookies. And what are the kids going to live on?
Sure.
And they just eat like their parents. So it all falls back to knowing what is reality? What is healthy eating? How do you eat healthy? What is the problem? Why? And I talk about, I get into obesity. Why is there an obesity epidemic? What's the reality about that? And then I give some ideas on, okay, so now you know how to eat healthily. You know the facts that you need to know. How are you going to use this information? So I give people some idea of how to apply this information, how to take this information, start changing your diet, doing things that you need to do in order to, one, be healthy, but two, be able to control your caloric intake to the point where you'll start losing weight and get down to the weight you want to get to. The problem with most diet programs is they're all geared to let you or make you lose weight quickly. Well, that results in a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety, and just doesn't work out in reality. Yeah, you lose weight because you're not eating nearly as many calories as your body needs to maintain its weight. So yeah, you're going to lose weight, but it's not maintainable, and it's not really necessarily healthy. Most of them aren't that healthy, and it's not eating the way you want to eat. So I propose a way to use this information to incorporate it into your life in a gradual fashion so that it can make permanent changes. And another thing is people think, well, I'll go on this diet for a while, lose my weight, and yippee, I'll go back to doing what I was doing. The reality is what you were doing is what made you fat in the first place. So you can't apply some program for a while, lose the weight, and then go back to what you were doing. You're just going to go right back to where you're at. And so you need to accept the fact you're going to have to make some permanent changes, but it doesn't have to be real stressful. So a good part of the book is talking about how to apply this information to incorporate it into your life so that you can make these permanent changes, and be eating healthy at the proper amount so that you can be at the weight you want to be at and be healthy at the same time. And then the last part of the book, I talk a little bit about exercise. You can say a lot about exercise, and you can't leave it alone because, I talked about physiological health, how important that is. And so I talk about exercising, how to really get yourself into a routine. And I talk a little bit about physiological health and what that means and so forth. And that's what the book's about.
Great. Dr. Meline, you are a cool dude, and you have a wealth of knowledge, and we so appreciate you coming on the Gym Wits and really speaking with us and spreading this information that we think is so vital for people to know and just to help live better, healthier lives.
Well, thank you very much. And again, I really appreciate you having me on your show, and it's an honor to do so.
Yeah, we'd love to have you again. So anytime you want to come on, you have anything to talk about, just let us know. We'd love to have you on again.
All right. That's great. I'd love to.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
I really loved that interview, and I really like Dr. Meline because he's based in reality. He's not trying to give sensational advice or drastic advice change stuff, or change these crazy things in your diet or do this or work out in this extreme way. It's all very reasonable, based in science, and it's something that I think everyone can learn from and everyone can adapt and put into their lives.
Yeah, and his approach is similar to ours. Like, we're
Yes.
looking for the facts, and we're looking for where the real information is. And I think the problem is, and where the kind of more nefarious parts of the industry get you, is that there's no magic bullet. There's no magic pill. It's hard work. And it's making good decisions when it comes to your diet and your nutrition. And there's no replacement for that. And often the industry, whether it's the nutrition industry or the fitness industry, they want to sell you on it because it's hard. It's hard to eat well, most of the time. It's hard to, it takes effort to work hard. So if someone tells you, oh, you don't have to work that hard because this thing's going to help you, or you don't have to, here's the magic diet that's going to get you all the results you want, or here's the magic supplement that's going to get you the results you want. It's really easy, and it's like we want to believe it. So I, really enjoy his approach. That but it just sometimes it's not the easiest thing to hear if you were looking for that, but there's value in working hard. There's value in making good decisions, and so yeah, I really did enjoy the interview, and I think again we touched on a lot.
All right, so do you have an exercise for us? Yes,
I have an exercise of the week. This week's exercise of the week is the shoulder touch. So describe it. I've been better lately. These are, again, if you have an iOS device, whether it's an iPhone or an iPad, you get this with the app. I'm sorry, you can download the GymWits app, and then you have this where I've been posting the photos for the exercise of the week every week. But this week's exercise of the week is a shoulder touch. Basically, imagine you're in a high plank, so you're like in a push-up position. Basically, the movement there is you lift one arm and touch the opposite shoulder. You drop it back down to the floor. You lift the other arm, touch the other shoulder. So what I like about that exercise, it's a great core movement, great stability, great core stability exercise. Doing it properly means that when you lift the arm off the floor, you're essentially changing your center of gravity. So you have 4 points of contact on the floor. You lift one arm up. Now you have 3. You're off balance. Your body has to compensate in order to stay in position. So the key to that exercise is doing it without movement. So when you lift the arm, you don't shift your weight to compensate for the shift in your center of gravity. You're not rotating, you're not turning. You're able to stay as stable and engaged as you can in order to lift the arm up and drop it back down, and lift the other arm up and drop it back down. So I think it's a really good, simple core exercise that anybody can do anywhere. And the key is, if you do it now and you have a really hard time with it, the goal is to slowly but surely minimize the movement to the point where you're almost not moving at all, so that when you lift the arm, you're completely stable. So if you can't do that, that's fine, but you want to try to make progress so that every time you do it, you do it again and again, there's less and less movement and you're more and more stable while you're doing it. So yeah, the exercise of the week this week is the shoulder touch or shoulder tap.
Great.
All right, cool. Guess that's it. As usual, download the app if you haven't yet and you have an iOS device or an Android device. Otherwise, if you're listening to us on iTunes, rate us please, or whatever you're listening to us. We're almost everything. I think Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, all that stuff. So Google Play Music. So we're as much as we can. So definitely rate us if you can. It helps us. We've been climbing in the rankings. Our numbers are improving, and it's because of you guys, because of the listeners. And the more listeners, the better we get. The more we can put out. So, that's it. I'm Ryan George.
I'm Justin Guild, aka Chef Sonic,
and we are the Gym Wits.